Look, lizards are pretty wild, and their close relationship with dinosaurs is written all over their faces. There are all sorts of colorful, scaly, horny, slithery-tongued lizards in the world, the smallest of which is called Bruchessia nana. It can literally stand on the head of a matchstick, and the largest of which is called the Komodo Dragon. And it is not here to play games. You're probably thinking that you've definitely seen alligators and crocodiles that look a lot bigger than Komodo dragons. And you're absolutely right. The largest reptile on the planet is a saltwater crocodile. Crocodiles and Komodo dragons are in the same class, Reptilia, but they're actually in different orders. Saltwater crocodiles are in the order Crocodilia, which includes alligators, and Gavial, which are fish-eating crocodiles that have ridiculously pointy mouths. I mean, it can't be real. Komodo dragons, on the other hand, are in the order Squamata, which includes lizards, snakes, and something called a worm lizard with hilariously tiny arms. I mean, where are you going with those arms? Just walking around like... Anyway, Komodo dragons are the largest lizards in the world, and they can grow up to 10 feet long and weigh up to 330 pounds. Luckily, you don't have to worry about running into a Komodo dragon because their only natural habitat is the harsh climate of the Indonesian Isles. So, what do Komodo dragons eat? Great question. Everything. Everything with meat on the bones. This includes deer, pigs, and water buffalo. They can eat up to 80% of their body weight in a single meal, and where one Komodo is feeding, the others will soon follow. They can see up to 985 feet away and run up to 13 miles an hour, but their main tool for hunting is their excellent sense of smell. They have this long, forked, snake-like tongue that they use to sample the air, and then they use this thing called a Jacobson's organ that sits at the roof of their mouth to analyze the molecules in that air to get more information about bleeding or injured prey or rotting flesh up to 2.5 miles away. Quick side note, the Jacobson's organ is not unique to the Komodo dragon. In fact, this organ is present in all snakes and all lizards, along with mammals like mice, cats, dogs, cows, and elephants. So they're not the only animals that taste the air for information, they just look the scariest doing it. Speaking of smells, Komodo dragons find mates because the females leave a scent in their feces that the males follow. So, on the one hand, you have things like birds, which do these elaborate, beautiful calls and have these bright, flamboyant feathers and literally do dances to attract a mate. And on the other hand, you have Komodo dragons that are just taking a bunch of dumps and hoping that the right one smells it. Nature is undefeated. Now that dump doesn't always yield results. If a female Komodo dragon poops in the forest and no males are around to smell it, turns out she just reproduces asexually. The females have both male and female chromosomes and can produce offspring all on their own using a process called parthenogenesis. The wildest part about this is that offspring that are produced through parthenogenesis are always male. That way, sexual reproduction can restart with the next generation. In any case, Komodo dragons usually lay about 30 eggs that they bury in the ground to incubate for 8 months. Okay, so this is where it gets weird. When Komodo dragons hatch, they're about 12 inches long, which is pretty adorable. But they instinctively take off and start running up trees. They're very good climbers. And this is really important because if they stay on the ground, they're at risk of being eaten by their mother or by other Komodo dragons. The babies stay in the trees until they're about 4 years old or 4 feet long, and then they descend to the ground and live and eat among the adult Komodo dragons. They literally eat their babies. Speaking of eating, let's talk about the mouth for a second because there is a lot going on in there. They have these razor-sharp serrated teeth, and when they bite down, they use what scientists have described as the can opener technique, meaning they bite down and then they use their large neck muscles to rip back the flesh and create a large gaping wound. Once that wound is created, what happens next is the topic of a little bit of scientific debate. It was initially thought that the Komodo dragon's mouth is full of toxic bacteria, which causes a lethal infection in its bite victim. But in 2009, Brian Fry from the University of Queensland put a Komodo dragon in a medical scanner and found venom glands in its mouth. These glands were full of toxins that lowered blood pressure, caused bleeding, prevented clotting, and induced shock. But there's still not enough scientific evidence to definitively say if the Komodo dragon's prey dies from blood loss, bacterial infection, venom, or a combination of all three. The reality is that we've only really been studying these creatures for about 100 years, and the majority of what we know about venom is based on what we know about snakes. So let me get this straight. This is a giant, drooling, prehistoric-looking lizard with a super long snake tongue and a mouth that works like a can opener that's full of venom or bacteria, but probably a combination of both, that is so vicious and ruthless that its own babies instinctively run away to avoid being eaten. Is that what you're telling me? Okay, just checking. But seriously, Komodo dragons are really amazing creatures. Unfortunately, their population is really vulnerable due to loss of habitat from development and poaching. On a lighter note, Komodo dragons stand on their hind legs and they look like a cartoon. And when they start fighting, it looks like two Godzillas are going at it. That's all for now, and if you come across a Komodo dragon, try to run at least 13 miles an hour.
Give me them cold days, give me them warm nights. I'ma have to see you outside, I'ma have to see you outside. Give me that sunshine, give me that bird's eye. I'ma have to see you outside, I'ma have to see you outside.